Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. We have a presentation with E2Gold. So with me, I have Ellie Owens, who's VP, and Eric Owens, who's CEO. Before we get started, as always, this session will contain a Q&A section, so feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom, and it will contain forward-looking statements. You can read more about those on the company's presentation on their website. With that out of the way, I'd like to introduce Ellie and Eric. Nice to see you both again.
Nice to see you too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Deborah. Pleasure to be here again.
Yeah, you've done a number of webinars with us over the past year, but I think Ellie, you said that you're going to do a quick overview and then maybe just give us an update on what's going on at site.
Yeah. So I'll just provide a bit of orientation for people who aren't as familiar with us, and then Eric will give a more in-depth update on it since our last webinar. So thanks everyone for being here. For those of you who don't know us, we are a junior gold exploration company. We are early stage and we're not miners, we're explorationists. What we're looking to do is take a resource to 2 to 3 million ounces of gold with room to grow and then send it on its way to a miner. So that's sort of our overview thesis. As Deb said, forward-looking statements, disclaimer here. Before we go into the overview of our property package, a little bit about our share structure. We have about 95 million shares outstanding, been trading recently at about 25 cents, so a market cap of 23 to 24 million. We have a very tightly held share structure, 15% insiders, 23% high net worth individuals, and importantly for a company of only a year and a half old, 27% high net or 27% funds, and that is 9 funds, including Crescat Capital, who holds about 11%. So a bit about our property now. We are focused in North Central Ontario. Our flagship property, the Hawkins Project, is located right here in between Timmins and Thunder Bay. We did also recently option the Bandor project over in Thunder Bay, and we staked the Copperfield and Strathern projects. But our focus is this Hawkins project, 80 kilometers long. It is centered in the center. There is the McKinnon resource. It is an inferred mineral resource, and it is 43-101 compliant. It is based off of 1980s Falcon Bridge drilling, but we did update it to NI 43-101 compliance. And that's 328,000 ounces of gold, 6.2 million tons at 1.65 grams per ton. So very briefly, why we like the Hawkins project. It is in a regional geologic setting that is very important for gold producers. You can see these red dots here are historic and current gold producers. And the Hawkins project in yellow here sits in this purple shaded area, which represents the interpretation of a regional shear zone. And then the southern limb of that regional interpreted shear zone. So regionally in a very important gold producing area. Beyond geology, though, it is also centered in an area that we consider to be an emerging mining district, an emerging gold mining district. We have Hawkins here outlined in orange. On the east or on the west here is Hemlo. On the east is Timmins and Kirkland Lake, all historic gold camps. But these central portion, these mines, Côté, Borden, Magino Island, and Sugar Zone represent 26 million ounces of gold that have been brought online in the past 15 years. And that's important because the McKinnon Zone, right in the center here, this red star, is based on 1980s Falcon Bridge drilling. So a lot earlier than this new recent activity, which provides the opportunity for the McKinnon Zone. So focusing on that zone there, we have the surface trace in red here. This is the resource itself. This is 3.5 kilometers long. It is a small portion of our 80 kilometer long property package. And what we're looking at is the Falcon Bridge drilling in gray. Those are 80 holes drilled in the 1980s, and then our drilling in this past winter. And that's in yellow here and over here. And that drilling in the winter was really conformational drilling designed to firm up our understanding of the structure and location of the high grade gold. And we did that. We hit some very high grades. And so we were very pleased with those results of that winter drilling. And so now that we've done our conformational drilling, now we're stepping out below and along strike of this resource to build the footprint of that resource. And so that's what Eric's going to talk about a little bit more in just a moment. So focusing one more time on the McKinnon Zone itself, just to give people a reminder of the mineralization of it. It is a quartz sericite schist, and why that's important is because it has a very similar mineralization style to Hemlo, which was one of Canada's largest gold mines. And so that mineralization style, the quartz sericite schist, is we share mineralization style, but also have common geochemical signatures and of course, as I pointed out earlier, a common regional setting, or geologic setting. And so that's relevant when you consider that the McKinnon Zone itself, 3 kilometers long, 0 to 150 meters deep, is actually quite shallow compared to mines such as Hemlo, which are about 2 kilometers long, or 2 kilometers deep, sorry. So it gives you an idea of how much further there is to go with the McKinnon Zone itself. And so now Eric's going to give a bit of an update of what we've been doing with drilling on the zone and other property acquisition.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. That was a good overview, and we'll now continue with just trying to bring you up to date on what we've been doing recently and where we're trying to go with it all. As Ellie mentioned, some of the geological and geochemical characteristics of McKinnon, which we show here on this longitudinal section in purple. Many of you have already seen this diagram here, has been superimposed upon the Hemlo mine, which is shown in yellow here, which, as you can see, has been mined down to almost 2,000 meters. One of those characteristics is the style of mineralization. You get a rather disseminated lower grade mineralization surrounding some local higher grade mineralization, gold mineralization. So what that means is that you get a more planar aspect to the mineralization, to the gold mineralization, rather than simply a pencil shaped deposit like you might in Timmins at the McIntyre zone. So you get at Hemlo a pretty wide zone here, 3.5 kilometers long or so, pretty similar to Hemlo. So our goal here is to really try and discover a footprint for the McKinnon Zone. Does it have the potential to grow to something larger like Hemlo is? And if so, how do we do that? Well, that's what we're doing with this series of red dots down here. And as you can see, we've been working diligently on not only those deep level holes down at 500 meters depth, having completed 8 of the 12 holes, which are shown in black here. We've also completed a number of shallower level step out holes. So again, as Ellie says, we're trying to step out. We're trying to see, will this deposit have room to grow from 328,000 ounces of gold to something 5 or 10 times the size? And that's what we hope these holes will give us an indication of. And that's the goal here. So we have some step out holes along strike plans still to come. We haven't posted any of those, targets yet, but we will be doing that as winter time comes in. It's boggy out in that part of the deposit. And then the third are geophysical targets, which are off trend. So we have a number of drilling holes and targets coming as winter time comes in when we have freeze up. Did I skip one there? No, I didn't. So again, we've completed 6,800 meters of drilling out of 10,000 meters planned. Probably before the end of the winter and springtime, we'll add some meterage to that as new data comes in from our studies. Again, our focus here is the central 15 kilometers. Again, most of you have seen this map. We won't repeat much of what the details are about this, but you can see the McKinnon Zone here in red, located right here. The geophysics suggests at least the geology continues for most of the length of that central 15 kilometers. We do have some high-grade targets. These are all going to be developing as we do conduct further studies like geophysics. We plan on a geophysical survey, an IP survey that is over on the east, over the high-grade prospect at Colbert de Broye to help prepare targets, future targets for us over there. Plus, we anticipate doing an IP survey in the wintertime also. Both of those will be in the wintertime. To be able to get out there and help plan for future drilling on some of these higher grade targets for McKinnon style mineralization.
Can you go back?
Yep.
But importantly here too, you'll also notice that we have started drilling in the targets that are off of the McKinnon Zone. So this is a geophysical target up here. And we've drilled one of those 3 planned holes. And so the important part about that is that we have started to demonstrate our ability to drill outside of the McKinnon Zone because it is a large property package with a lot of interesting geologic targets on it. Yeah.
So again, to reiterate, our current focus is the McKinnon Zone while we're drilling, but gradually as we develop more information and collect more information and develop new ideas, we'll gradually spread further and further out from there. And so before we get to where we're going with the other exploration activities, some of our recent activities, we tripled the size of our property package in a couple of months ago, September-ish. You can see in the gray areas here, this long, narrow portion of the gray area here, and the west, what we call the western block of claims over here. All of those were staked or acquired in 2020. What we see in orange here are newly added claims. The total length of the property is now about 80 kilometers, 75 to 80 kilometers, and 540 square kilometers. Is that correct, Ellie?
Yeah.
I think that's about the number. So a large property package, which gives us a lot of meat and things to do on it. You can see the location of the McKinnon Zone here in the center of what we call the Hawkins Township portion of the property. So we've got a lot to do, a lot to cover.
And so what that staking was trying to do was trying to target the greenstone belt and the shear zones in the area, because there is a very common association with gold mines and gold producing areas of having greenstone belts within shear zone regions. And so that staking allowed us to capture all of the greenstone in that OBA area there. So that's important for potential gold deposits.
Yep. The other sort of property acquisition activities we completed was the acquisition of the Bandor property. It's a 10-kilometer long property west of Thunder Bay, Ontario. Like the McKinnon property, or like the McKinnon project that we have, it is a project that has some historical resources, not 43-101 compliant, but some historical resources, and many of you may be familiar with it. It's been around a while, but those resources were last seriously worked on back in the 1980s. So like Hawkins, it provides us with some meaty activity to use modern technologies, modern geologic thought on a project that has a gold budget and requires some updating and perhaps opportunity for growth because of technology and thought advancements. So this is a back burner. Our focus really is the Hawkins. We will be accomplishing a few things on this project in the new year, in 2022, but our real focus will continue to be Hawkins at this point in time. And to that end, recent results, we recently completed a very extensive geophysical survey over the western block of claims here, which we find a very intriguing from a geological point of view, from a gold point of view, because we have the confluence of two major shear zones, this black dash line here and the one that trends up this way. And that means the geology is very complicated. And this is sort of the preliminary image from that geophysical survey. I don't show you the old historical geophysical surveys, but when you take one look at this, and we're still in the process of reprocessing and getting this information into our geology group. And so it's a much improved baseline study, all in the name of trying to do follow-up studies in the winter to hopefully prepare for some perhaps drill targets next summer to fall.
And when Eric says complicated geology in the West, that's good for gold. That's always a good thing for gold.
Indeed, yes. And then the final bit, just to show you again where we're going. We've got the whole McKinnon property outlined here in orange here. As Ellie mentioned earlier, the big bulk of eastern claims that we recently staked cover most of the greenstone belt over here on the east. Our continued focus and drilling will be in and around, in the near term, the McKinnon Zone, as we take baby steps out from it as well. We will be completing IP surveys, as I mentioned, to the east as well as to the west in the winter, again in the hopes of adding drill targets for next year. And just mentioned we've completed this mag survey here. So next year we have a big program of following up on drilling. Hopefully our drill results from the McKinnon Zone, our current round of drilling, will warrant follow-up drilling, and I believe we will. They will be telling us something, those results, and we'll be adding to as we step out further for more drill targets as well. And I think that's about it, unless you can think of something else.
Nope, that's the summary. That's the update of what we're doing.
Okay, great. So audience participants, feel free to enter some questions. I have a couple of my own. So you went public about a year ago, I think end of December, was it?
Yeah.
Stocks performed really, really well over the last little while. I think since your June or July financing. What are you doing in terms of marketing over the coming like month or two or throughout the winter?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we're doing a lot on the marketing front. We're really getting out there. It's going to be tiring next month, I think, but it'll be really good. So this Wednesday, we're actually leaving to go to the SOAR Financial Conference in Frankfurt. Next week, we'll be at the Precious Metals Virtual European Summit. That will be on the 15th and 16th. And then the 17th and 18th is 121 Mining. And then in January, we will be going to the Roundup and to the Cambridge House shows in Vancouver, both in January and I think early February are those two shows. So those are our main conference appearances. I think there are other names for those conferences. I'm not actually sure what they are.
Yeah, the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, as well as the Roundup. Which one?
Yeah, that's it.
So, okay. Yeah, so I think, our share prices has been doing well, and I think it's because we've been getting the word out. We've been spending a lot of time and effort and money communicating with people. We've been busy on the exploration front, and that helps. And so we're really getting out there and working hard at trying to make sure people understand the story.
Yeah, and we also, of course, are doing a lot of webinars like with you and getting out there and having kind of E2 beer hours and just ways for people to connect with us and ask their questions and find out about what's going on with the company.
Great. And then in terms of cash, you're fully funded for this program that you've outlined?
Yes, yeah, we're fully funded for this program and it should be running until the end of end of spring, although we are 3/4 of the way done the drilling program. So actually it might even be sooner. Kind of depends on when freeze up is, because there's certain drill targets that we can't reach until the ground is frozen solid, because there's certain areas that are a little boggy. So if it freezes earlier, then we get done earlier.
So you can work year round up here?
Yeah, definitely. You can, in a lot of cases, drilling is easier in the winter for sure, because there are certain areas that are a bit boggy, as I said. You can do line cutting and IP surveys in the winter. You can't do mapping and prospecting, but the bulk of our drilling work can certainly be done in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much more fun in the winter in many regards, because you can pretty much go anywhere with freeze up. If you have lots of lakes and boggy areas, you got to be a little bit more careful when it's summertime, moving heavy equipment around.
You won't catch me there in the winter, that's for sure.
It's fine.
Too cold for my blood.
September and October are good months to be there, because there's few bugs and it's usually pretty mild still.
And I think you said that you've started running some site visits from time to time.
Yeah, we have had a few visits. We have done a few with a few groups out there as sort of test runs, because it's a little tricky to get to sometimes. So we've had to do a couple of test runs, and it's actually worked very well. We've got it. I think we've got the idea down for once we start, actually, once analysts and other investors start traveling more, and there's still I think we're still a little ways away from that. We've managed to do some test runs with some mining companies and with our board. We've gotten them on different occasions, groups up there.
Okay. And I think you implied that your drill program and exploration program over the course of the next few months and what you've already previously completed really is about defining new targets and really looking for a footprint. How would you define this program as being a success? Like, what are you looking to achieve by the end of the 10,000 meters and the other work that you're doing?
Well, ideally, in a perfect world, some of the drilling we've been doing at deep levels underneath the McKinnon Zone give us some obvious answers, yes or no, and hopefully yes, ideally yes, that here's where we're hitting, which will then cause us to drill a whole bunch of holes around those one or two other holes that have hit. We need answers, and it's, of course, unfortunately, Mother Nature isn't always black and white. In fact, it's rarely black and white. It's a lot of gray area out there, and so we want to be able to, in addition to what we're drilling on at this stage of the game, identify targets elsewhere, which we're working on as well, so that we want to keep the drill rigs turning as much as possible, because that's the only way one finds gold. You got to drill. And so the main thing is to be confident enough in our various targets that these are the best targets we can possibly select to finding gold and building a gold deposit here.
One of the off McKinnon targets that would be sort of successful in my mind is we have this geophysics target that we're drilling right now to the north, and it's actually not based on this map that we're looking at right now. It's based on a reprocessed, a filtered version of this that sort of removes the remnant magnetism, and it allows you to kind of shore up the location of your anomaly a little bit better than just looking at this initial airborne magnetic survey. And so if this drilling is successful on that, we'll be pleased to have another tool in our toolbox to start targeting based off of airborne magnetics, because airborne is like one of the cheapest ways to start exploring an area and defining drill targets. And it'd be great if this kind of filtering could work out well with our Western claim blocks that we just completed that airborne magnetic survey on.
Got it. And I think we discussed earlier, I mean, lab turnaround times have been horrific for most people in the industry. I know you're still waiting on a number of assay results. Can you sort of give us an idea of what's in the pipeline there?
I can tell you what our lab has told you. I want to disclaimer that with they have repeatedly updated what they're telling us. So I almost am very hesitant to give any kind of timeline on this. We've been told that for our early drill holes of this phase 2 drilling, we've got another month to go for those results, but that has been updated over the past like 2 months already. And so it'd be like a month from today, maybe kind of earliest December, I would think.
Okay. And so you still have all 7,000 meters to report of what you've done?
Yes.
So you should have a ton of news coming over the winter as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all these holes are independent targets. Basically, we were planning on drilling this series of deep level holes, drilling every one of them at one. Yeah, obviously, if we'd gotten some assay results, we might have stopped in the middle of that and followed up if something comes out great. But ultimately, we needed to pretty much test the whole slew of them, and so we're doing that at this point in time.
Great. Well, I don't have any other questions. Is there anything we didn't touch on today? Oh, actually, we have an audience question. Crescat suggested you do some deep drilling to see if there's comparison to Hemlock. Are you doing the series they suggested? I believe that those are the deep holes there.
Yeah.
You want to give an update on that?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So these red dots here represent the targeted drilling for those deep holes. And the idea here, what Eric was sort of explaining before, was that you can see how much variability there is in the Hemlo deposit itself. This yellow represents the outline of the Hemlo mine. What we've done is we've overlaid that with our McKinnon resource in purple. The reason is to give an idea of how shallow the McKinnon resource is compared to how deep the Hemlo mine is. So the McKinnon resource is 0 to 150 meters deep. The Hemlo mine is down to 2 kilometers almost. And there's a lot of variability. So if you just drilled in a lot of these locations, you would miss the high grade areas and so miss the deposit. So what we've done in conjunction with with suggestions from Dr. Quinton Henry, which has been really great, is designed a statistical style of drilling program. It's not based on tracing high grade zones. It's based on, let's target 500 meters deep. Let's drill 10 to 12 of those holes at the same depth, each equally spaced apart, and hopefully one of them should hit if there's something big like this down there. And so, yes, we have been drilling them, and we have, we've actually completed, the black dots represent the drill holes we've completed. And so we've completed 8 of those 10 to 12. The red are what is proposed to be completed. And so right now, we actually just completed this one. So now the drill is moving to either one of these other red dots over here. And so we'll see what those results come back with.
Right. Makes sense. I don't see any other questions. Any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
I guess that, even though labs are backed up, we've moved really far along with our drilling program. We're already 3/4 of the way done. We're really excited about the other activities we've done. We're doing sort of a parallel programming right now. We're trying to build that footprint on McKinnon, but at the same time, develop targets elsewhere. So we're really, and that's a bit of a risk management measure. And that's something that's important for investors to know, that we're working on a number of different fronts to try and build growth on the Hawkins project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have 2 drill rigs turning right now. We'd love to be able to keep 2 drill rigs turning for a long time to come. In fact, we hope to get to a point where we can bring in 4 or 5 or 6 drill rigs on the project at some point, but we're not there yet. But we certainly have come a long way in a fairly short period of time, and I think people appreciate that. And
Yeah.
we certainly appreciate it. We appreciate all the support everybody's been giving us as well. So
For
it's
sure.
enabled us to do the kind of job we need to do to try and find a big gold deposit.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a really good job to get the story out too and getting a lot of new eyes on it. So hopefully when you do start to see those results, you've got a lot more people paying attention.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the goal.
Yep.
And thank you for your help with that. It's
Yeah.
great having
Yep.
these webinars.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, thanks so much for the update. I don't see any other questions. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out and I'll get those answered for you. And yeah, nice catching up with you guys.
Yeah,
Good luck with the
absolutely.
program.
All right,
Thanks again, Deborah.
Thanks.
Been a pleasure.